Hey everybody, it's Allison Dawrant coming to you from my living room studio here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And in front of me is the issue of What Women Create magazine that Oakley and I were published in. Really, the magazine's about Oakley, my little rescue dog, a story, or otherwise known as a pet tale, is how he rescued me. So I just wanted to share this because it's going to be on stands until June 7th, 2025 here. So this is the spring edition of What Women Create. There's also Where Women Create, and my husband often jokes with me, why isn't there a why or how women create? Because he always teases me. So this month, are you in the what or the where? And anyway, we just have a bit of a laugh about all the 5 W's, or I don't know, I can't remember the what, where, why, when, how. Anyways, I'm sidetracking. But Oakley, he's actually out in the doggy grooming van right now. So I can kind of look straight ahead out my window and the little doggy van's out there. You know what? I'm actually gonna just, because the license plate is private, this is, you can see I have my umbrella, and you can just, I don't know if you can see the doggy van behind my photography umbrella. There's a little glimpse at my studio. There's In the Elements, my 38 by 48 inch embellished canvas, some of my little art trolleys, and let's just see this very large, these are 2 Ikea tables that I've pushed together, and I put a flat board to kind of bridge them in between. So you can see the edges of those Ikea kitchen tables there. They're really great. There's wheels on one side, and I usually don't take you for a ride when I do videos, so my apologies if you're getting motion sickness. I'm gonna just put you down a little bit with my tripod and go back to Oakley. So yeah, he's in the doggy van. He really doesn't like to go in the doggy van, but he feels so much better after. So let's just see. So this magazine, again, it will be on stands. So I'm in Canada, and Indigo, formerly known as Chapters, is Canadian, a Canadian bookstore. They have a lot of gift items and whatnot, but that's where in Canada you can get this issue. You can also go to What Women Create online, and I believe that if you're a subscriber, you have access to this article. And just really excited to share this before it goes off stands. So we made it to the table of contents as well. So there's Oakley helping me as I was writing on my art poetry painting the words, "If it lights you up, do more of it." And these videos do light me up, as do all of the comments I get, all of the questions. I still have some of you I have to answer on email, so my apologies for being a little bit tardy on my response. My son broke his arm at the playground, and he's now out of a cast, but it's just been busy. We've had to cancel swimming lessons, and he's only in, he's going into grade 2 this September, so he's a busy boy, and it keeps me on my toes. But he's totally fine, and I'm gonna go back to the magazine. This is my photographer printer, Ken Chow. He's such an excellent printer. He does, so what I just showed you on my wall, that mountain print titled In the Elements, that's a 38 by 48 canvas print embellished. So Ken does all of my printing locally and drops off orders to me weekly, which is just amazing. So it's no drop shipping of like all these prints where I have to, purchase in quantity. Like, a lot of printing companies, you have to print something like, 100 of one size of a giclée or a fine art print, and then you're really kind of committed to trying to sell those and store them in your space. So I really appreciate these local printers like Ken that just can print one at a time, and it's better for the environment and less pressure when you're an artist selling your prints. So I am gonna flip over from this magazine. So this is again on stands until June 7th. It's also, I believe, featured on their website right now. And again, if you're a subscriber, you can just read the articles, specifically Oakley and I's article online. And so yeah, I'm just really grateful to this magazine and wanted to share it because pretty soon it will be off stands and we'll be on to something new. So I'll just set this aside. And speaking of being onto something new, I was so excited because I am going to be also featured in Uppercase magazine in July, so next month. To be honest, I had submitted many photos to a couple of the open calls. So Uppercase magazine, which is printed here in Calgary, Alberta, which is really cool. Anyways, I had applied to a couple of the open calls. There's this is just, it's such an incredible magazine. And anyways, I received an email from Janine, the editor, and she said that I'm going to be featured on the subscriber page. And I think it's a studio feature. I'm not too sure. So if you're a subscriber to Uppercase magazine like I am, they often have, oh, here it is, a subscriber studio page, and it just has a little glimpse into the world of the creative or the artist that had applied to the open call. And I really have no idea which photos she's going to use. I just feel so lucky that she said I was going to be in the magazine. So even if it's just like my name and one photo, I would just be over the moon, so excited, because this is one of my favorite magazines. And yeah, if you have never been published, it's funny, I would just open to fresh talent, but she has open calls for people that have never been published. So if you're an artist, a creative that has some work you want to share, try and get some really, higher quality photos, make sure they're nice and bright, and consider just, what you want to say, a little bit about yourself, and do consider applying, because it would just be, it's just a really neat feeling to be published. And I really appreciate Uppercase because it's all inclusive. It's funny that this is a magazine I haven't looked at for quite a while. It's number 56 and we're on number 66 now. So this was out quite a while ago. Although through the Ukrainian Women's Association here, I have been partnered up with the most beautiful artist from the Ukraine. And she and I are going to be doing possibly a video together where she and I have been working together about at least once a month. We get together and we share ideas, and I'm learning just as much from her as she is from me. Her background is a graphic designer, and she's an incredible watercolor artist. And she and I'm just going to grab my panels. We both kind of have a process that the other person wanted to learn, which is really neat. So she wanted to learn how to mount her watercolor paper to cradled panel. So just like this little panel. And if you've been watching my channel, you'll see me do this process, and you'll know a little bit about these cradled wood panels. But she really wanted to learn this process, and I really wanted to learn the process of, she takes an embroidery hoop that she repurposes from thrift stores, people that are just finished with their sewing materials and putting out craft supplies. She gets these embroidery hoops, and she soaks the watercolor paper, and then basically, stretches the into the embroidery hoop, and does the most stunning watercolors on it as a surface. So she said, hey, you've helped me with mounting your paper to wood panel. Why don't I do a video for you? So we're going to do a video together, which will be really fun. Her name is Yevhenia. She goes by Yev. And I'll be introducing you to her probably in the next month or two when we get time to do the video and the process, but just wanted to share that. I've also been really excited to work on some of these little panels. This is not a cradled wood panel. It was just a really affordable panel I had purchased at Michael's here in Canada. It might have only been a couple dollars, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna try and paint around the edges, paint the inside, and glue my watercolor work inside, and it turned out really well. And once it's glued down, of course, the way I finish it is with the Dorland's wax medium. So again, if you're new to my channel, these are sort of some of the topics I like to go over. But in order to finish my work, because it won't be going behind a glass frame with UV protection or a varnish, I use Spectrafix, this fixative. It's non-toxic. I spray it on first, so all the materials I use don't move. I don't just use watercolor, I use other mixed media supplies in my work. So anyways, that's like a whole nother video, but this is finished with wax. And I recently did a bunch of these with Yev for a show that she had coming up. So anyways, that just made me think of her and what we're going to be doing, because my heart goes out to everything that's going on in the Ukraine right now, and I just feel really lucky that she and I got partnered up, even though everything she's going through is very horrific right now. And because I sidetrack, I just see these on my floor. Okay, well, first, before I move on, again, this Uppercase magazine is awesome. I'm gonna go back to it, but I will put a link in my description for 10% off for if you spend over $50. And I was really lucky that Janine gave me that little code link. So that's something that I have forgotten in the past to put in my videos. I'm still sort of, I consider myself new to YouTube in the sense I maybe have been on here 2 years now, but there's just so much to learn with everything about being on here. Okay, so I'm gonna set that one aside. And this was a painting that I had done. If you can believe it, you can probably kind of see it was on a full 11 by 14 inch piece of paper. I was really happy with it, and I think what had happened was I'd overworked it. And I don't do that often. I paint so often, I kind of get in a really good rhythm, but this was a new style for me, and it really didn't turn out the way I liked it. I felt it was overworked, so I cut it up, and then I still really liked parts of the painting. So it's missing a section, but you can see here, this was very much part of the middle part of the painting. As well, this sort of matches, I've changed this area a little bit. And I am making this 2 separate paintings, but almost like a diptych, a side-by-side, how do you say, cohesive piece of art. I used a lot of painted papers in here, and I'm really excited to finish the beautiful hummingbirds. I'm gonna make them bright with color. Part of me thought about doing them in black and white and kind of leaving them that natural charcoal, sort of the image that I have on there. I haven't decided yet, but I wanted to just share this with you because it was sitting out, and this is my next sort of art project after I finish my video. And yeah, I really loved these painted papers. I was really into those last summer, and I feel like I'm in a bit of a rhythm. I just have to figure out how to pull the piece together. I'm sure some of you are in your head thinking, stop moving them, because I get excited and I like to move what I'm showing around because of all the details and the way the light hits it. You see different things. So anyways, and I do these videos for myself, so I do take feedback. I appreciate it, but I just end up doing what I want anyways, because if I took all the feedback, I wouldn't be doing the videos probably. So just like I paint for myself, I do videos for myself. Today is Friday, June 6th, and this is my little artist almanac calendar, which I haven't shared for a while either. I really love this page. You are the best thing that has ever happened. And I feel that about you all and this wonderful community. It just sort of happened that I ended up doing YouTube videos, and I feel really happy to be here. So Friday, June 6th, and oh, and I should share with you, sorry, this is just a little artist almanac calendar. I don't know if they're going to continue it. It's a group of artists. They have a Facebook group. I know very little about the group other than my friend Christine Karpiak in Edmonton is the one that I had purchased this little calendar from in the fall of this past year. So you can find their Facebook group and learn a little bit about it. But it's also, for those of you that are interested in publishing a product, it's a really neat product because you can use these pages as collage fodder, collage them on. It's a neat mixed media product. It's great for, someone in your life that loves art and creativity and maybe daily inspiration. Such a nice little gift. But I'm not sure, I just heard that it may not be continued, so you'll have to maybe reach out to one of the artists or you can look into that. But I really enjoy having this as my calendar. My son, he often comes by my art table and he'll take off some pages if I'm behind. I also wanted to share, it's like I have a whole vision board in my art studio. I have these beautiful canvas prints made by Ken. This is like a sample print. And this is my painting titled Patchwork Skies. And this is actually right now on canvas at a little art studio / gallery where I'm doing a show all about empathy and art. So I guess I should give you a little bit of backstory, but here's a little cradled wood panel I've started, and I'm tempted to mount this canvas material to the wood panel and create a new piece of art with this gorgeous canvas print. You can see I embellished it a little bit. I can add more embellishments to make it stand out and have texture. But I was just thinking this would be kind of neat glued on, and then finishing the edges in a really, maybe a fuchsia, maybe kind of that green with polka dots. I'm loving the polka dots. I also am thinking about doing this little one, but I'll tell you a bit about the exhibition actually before I go on to something different. I don't know if we're going to get a chance to paint today. Those of you that follow me know that I do mind maps, so I like to, not in a linear fashion, but basically get out all of my thoughts on paper without making like a to-do list, but just everything that's coming to my mind. And when my art friends reached out and said, hey, I think you would be really good in this art exhibition on empathy, why don't you apply? I had never done anything like that before. I very much stick to working and selling from my home studio. I do a couple shows, but no more than like one a year, and very specific shows like, the under 100 art show, under 200 shows. And this was just a really new idea, but I thought, well, what the heck? And so I applied. And through the application process, it just really got me thinking about what does empathy mean to me, and why was it that my friends thought my art would be good in the show. And it was a great exercise because when I got accepted into the show, I just dove deeper into my artist why and how empathy is woven throughout my life and throughout my art. So this was like my mind map where I took a piece of paper. This is a really large sheet of watercolor paper. And I had been doing some fun, intuitive, loose, like blind contour drawings of flowers. And I had set the paper aside and thought, well, wouldn't it be great to do my mind map of empathy on here? And the filmmaker that I had worked with, Olivia, she had done a little, it's not like a documentary, it's just like a little social media video reel that she's putting together with my story, parts of my story. And she saw this when she was filming and she said, this is like a work of art in itself. And it was cute. My son saw this sitting by the door when I was just gonna go leave to do filming at the studio, and he's like, how come you didn't color in these flowers? Because he knows I use a lot of color, of course, in all of my work. I don't just do black and white. And it was just cute to have the feedback about this being artwork in itself, you know, this huge mind map. And also it was just kind of cute that he saw it as art too, but was wondering why it wasn't done, why it wasn't finished and colored in. So I'm just gonna maybe go back to this, and I'm just gonna use it as my background for a second, because I think probably you all want to do a bit of painting today. I don't know. I know I do. Oh, and I did want to share, so Uppercase not only has that wonderful magazine, but they also put out these little U books, which are for sort of the young creative in your life. And there's the Stabilo Woodies that we love to use, that I love to use. I need to go back to this book now that my son is older, because I think I had purchased this one when he was about 2 or 3. So we are in a very different creative frame of mind in our home. I was probably having to hide a lot of my paints just so he wouldn't discover them at that age. And, you know, a lot of paints are so toxic. So I've really gravitated towards watercolor in my process just because of that. Okay, but these books, Little U, are books that I think she does back orders for. They are probably still available, but they are just not just for little young people in your life, for anybody creative, sort of with a slant of the younger generations, but they're just really cute. She also puts out, these are probably 2 of my favorite chunky books, A Mixed Bouquet, Art Design, and Ephemera. I can never say that word. Ephemera. So Botanica, and then this one is Ingredients of Creativity, Art Supplies, Making, Manufacturing, and Creating. These books are like golden to me. They are gems. I have been donating a lot of my books, but these are 2 that I just love, and I feel like I will probably keep for a really long time. So, you know, these you can still purchase through Uppercase. And again, if you use my 10% off, if you spend over $50, you can probably get, you know, a subscription for yourself, or, you know, just purchase some. I would say these 2 are incredible. I forget how much I had paid for these, but they are so worth it. They're just something I love to go back to. I currently am working with taking a course, Masterpiece Makers, by Wendy Brightbill, and I know Wendy, her art is right here actually. She does the most beautiful mixed media art, Wendy Brightbill from Colorado, and this is one of her floral oil paintings, and I recognized it right away. And then funny enough, this is Beam Paints, which I'm hoping to use the paint palette today to paint with you all. So I have a couple palettes from this Canadian non-toxic, Indigenous, family-owned company off Manitoulin Island in Canada here. And they use non-toxic supplies, really awesome service. They're wonderful. So I was just excited to see this on the first page in this Encyclopedia of Inspiration through Uppercase. And this is such a wonderful gift. They have little kids palettes. Some of them are shaped. One of them's in a turtle. It often sells out really quickly, but I have gifted some of these for my son's friends' birthdays, because it's just, again, it's just non-plastic, non-toxic. I find a lot of the adults end up using it. They're like, you know, that gift that you gave so-and-so, it's been sitting out on our kitchen. You know, we love it as sort of a decorative item, but we're also painting more. So it's really neat. If you're somebody that doesn't like the mess of acrylics or getting out a whole bunch of watercolors, this is really great. And when you do go through the watercolor, you can refill these little grooves. So just a little plug for Beam Paints. I also love their little canvas wrapped paint stones. So this is canvas material. There's so much paint in these. They are wonderful. And so when I'm doing a video or my son and I sit down to paint, we pick out of the colors what we want to use, just to have a slightly, I wouldn't say this is a limited palette, maybe slightly more limited. So I'm going to do the same exercise I had done in my last video I posted from, I think, June 2nd. And that was where I was just finding my favorite color and putting it in the center of a flower. So kind of like this idea, you can just zero in on this, finding a beautiful color and then making tints, tones, and shades and neutrals, as well as mixing in the primary colors with that center flower. So here's another one I had done with dioxazine purple. So what I hope to do today is this type of example where the main color is in the middle, the hue, and then I would mix with titanium white, titanium buff, titanium gray, Payne's gray, burnt umber, burnt sienna, raw umber, dark neutral, blue, yellow, and red as primaries. This was with the Stone Ground Paint Co., but I'm going to be doing Beam Paints instead. So again, what we're doing today is like our last video, where this is an example. I had a very bright pink. That was from Stone Ground Paint Co., and it was called Helium Pink. This I had mixed with the white, the Titan Buff, the gray, Payne's gray, burnt sienna, raw umber, red, yellow, and blue, and that's what we got. So that's what I hope to achieve with this Beam Paint palette. I have my white. I have this, which is like a Titan Buff. This is just called Cream. I have this really lovely light gray, which is called Slate. We have Graphite. And then Timberwolf gray is a really nice one, sort of like a lighter Payne's gray. And then we have our burnt sienna, which is called burnt sienna. We have Cub Brown, which is sort of similar to a raw umber, a darker brown. And we have the white, which I had told you about. So these are going to be for the tints, the tones, and the shades. And then we could mix in the primary colors or just have fun and just take some random colors. So that's what I'm going to be doing today, if I can get to it. But back to, oh yes, so this is Uppercase, all about supplies, and I am telling you, it is amazing. So here's the little set of pages on Beam Paints. There's Anung Beam, A-N-O-N-G is her name. She's the daughter that is running the business. And again, it's Manitoulin Island. And there's just an example of some of their process in creating their pigments. And so if you're new to mixed media, or if you're looking to switch it up, maybe you've just been doing acrylics, you know, this is like, it's so awesome to just expand, you know, without going and buying a bunch of supplies, just expanding your knowledge of what may be available to you without, you know, investing in it. Just, you know, finding an artist in here that maybe you like their work, you know, what supplies are they using. There's Jean Oliver. She's an incredible artist. And actually, what I should say, so Jean Oliver hosts artist classes on her website. And she had hosted an artist named Haley Morgan. and it was through Haley Morgan's class titled These Wildflowers. I think that's right. I'll have to put that in my description. So it was Haley Morgan's class that kind of got me onto this idea of using a main color in the center and then doing the tints, tones, and shades around the outside. And she had done it with acrylic paints, but I would say she was my primary inspiration for this little relaxing watercolor technique. So it's funny that I would just come across her. So I like to just lay in bed at night and go through this book. There's Roben-Marie Smith. Whoops, and I'm just gonna... So if you've been following me, you know that Roben-Marie, she just finished the 100-day project, and I believe she used the hashtag 100 embellished bits. BITS, and she did it. I think she finished it. She also kind of talked about her journey through her website, through the Robin's Nest, her online membership. She is just a beautiful soul, and it was Robin that I had reached out to and asked if she would be open to me sending my art poetry deck to her, my 71 card artist art poetry deck. And just said, you know, if you like it and you'd be open to sharing it, I will send it to you for free, but no pressure. And she went over and above, and she wrote the most incredible blog about my cards and my deck. She even took beautiful photos, and I'm forever grateful because I had gotten so many orders. That was just before Canada Post was potentially striking. But it's really helped my business just because it's hard to get seen as an artist, especially if you're sort of introverted. It's also really tough in Canada here. We're a bit limited with our postal services, and I do get a small discount with Canada Post, and they pick up at my house. And when they have gone on strike, so last Christmas, it was just really hard. I just ended up turning off my website. So thank you so much to Roben-Marie. She probably, she's so busy, I don't know if she would ever come across the mentions in these videos, but hopefully she can feel my gratitude. And I also had her canvas prints made by my printer Ken. So these are, I had purchased the digital prints of some of her beautiful work, and I had my printer Ken Chow make canvas prints, and I still haven't decided how I want to use them. But I think, again, it's for personal use. I'm tempted to maybe mount some to a panel and actually just send them to her as a little surprise, almost like as a little collaboration and a thank you for all that she's done for me. So I think this would be really beautiful mounted to a panel. These ones are so small, so I'm still trying to decide which ones I would do. But I've had these out, you know, as a reminder, just to somehow do a little something as appreciation for her, even though she said, I don't want anything in return, but she brought me so much business. So thank you, Robin. If you ever see this video, Roben-Marie, she goes by Roben-Marie, so I have to remember that. And she has an online community, which I've heard is just beautiful, and she gives so much of herself to those community members. So I've learned a lot about different artists through this book, through Uppercase. I think Stone Ground Paint Co. is in here as well. But what a wonderful book. And then I suppose I can do a quick flip through of this one. Oh, there's so many things I want to share. So Botanica is great, so I'll probably try and go back to that. And what I want to do is just before Oakley, I have to rescue him from the doggy van. I'm just gonna give a really good spritz and activate my beam paints in those little beeswax wrapped canvases. And I'm gonna open to a fresh page. And because I'm right-handed, one of you had said, you know, it might be easier to have your palette on the right. I'm kind of all over the place, but that was a good recommendation for today. So I have my water reservoir here, and I'm gonna go into one of my favorite colors, which is this, I believe this is cherry magenta. Yes, it is. So cherry magenta by Beam Paints. And I'm just gonna do like the middle part of what would look like a flower. It doesn't have to be round, it could be any shape. And then I'm also gonna just clean off my brush like I do on this side sheet. And then I can always turn it into a new painting or collage paper, especially if it's like a thinner paper. It's great to collage on afterwards. And you know, I had recently seen Jane Davenport. There was like a little freebie mixed media video that she had done, and she does the same process, but she puts all the warm colors in an area and then she groups all the cool colors, and it was really neat to see her process. And I'm gonna grab this palette I got from Beam Paints. And actually I forgot, before I shouldn't have cleaned my brush straight away. I'm gonna add that cherry magenta to my water droplets for this exercise. So we want one of our favorite colors that we use often in the middle. And then we're gonna make tints, so lighten up that color with white. So I'm gonna be using my Beam Paints, and this one's actually just called white. And you can use as much or as little of each that you'd like. I'm just gonna push my round number 12 brush down and make a petal. And then I'm gonna go into my Titan Buff. Oh, and I think Oakley might be ready, so I'm just gonna have to go get my little Oakley. So maybe you guys, if you want to get out whatever paints you'll be using. So I'm dipping into, I think I called it Titan Buff. It's actually cream. I was just distracted because I think Oakley's maybe ready early, and I don't want to lose this video by checking my phone. I might lose the video, I'm not sure. So we'll just pause for a second. So just a quick pause. I will show you what Oakley looks like when he's done. Okay, I'm just gonna do one more. So I'm gonna use this slate. I hate that I make you guys have to wait, but I don't edit my videos. I will not be remedying 2 videos that I've done. I just don't have the time, so. I'm just gonna mix in that gray, that slate, and put it right here. Okay, one moment, please. Jackie, are you ready? Good boy. My little Oakley. I don't know. Here, I'll see if you guys can see him. Okay, he's ready. Hi, Oakley. Do you need to shake? Here. Oakley. Oakley. I had to put on my slippers to go outside. Okay, you go get a drink. Hi, handsome. Yeah, I was talking about you on video. You're a star. Yeah, I was talking about What Women Create magazine and your pet tail. Okay, you go get a drink. You go get a drink. Okay, so back to our video. I'm just gonna see if I can zoom you in. I'm gonna get Oakley a drink. One moment. Oakley, come get a drink. Come. Good boy. Good boy. Come get a drink. Oakley. Okay, and Oakley is, he's good. Okay, we are gonna go into, let's just see. So we went into white, cream, and we're gonna do graphite, which is, again, we're kind of darkening things up as we go. And I'm gonna put it in this one here. I really love the cherry magenta and the graphite. It's such a beautiful color. And again, I'm just using my number 12 brush by Princeton. This is what I had started using when I first started painting, so it's what I'm comfortable with, and it's my go-to brush. And I know a lot of people say, oh, I can't paint with a brush so large, but it's just what I know, it's what's comfortable. So I'm gonna go into Timberwolf Gray, which is a gorgeous bluish gray. Oops, and I mixed in a little bit of white, but that's okay. And doing another petal and just seeing what I get. And then I'm gonna go into my burnt sienna. I double dipped, but that's okay. I'm gonna go back in. Burnt sienna is usually a fairly strong color. And that's a gorgeous neutral. And then we have Cub Brown, which is sort of like a raw umber. I'm gonna put that one here. And I might not do the primaries. I'm really, really happy with this little exercise, and I think we should do another one. So I'm just gonna clear off my palette. And I'm gonna go into another favorite, which is Robin's Egg. It's such a beautiful color. And I know one time I had done a video on this color. I'm just gonna update my water here. You can see my super heavy duty water bucket has come out with the 3 different compartments. Oh dear. 3 different compartments. Oh my gosh, I still have you. Okay, yikes, that was close. I can't see if it's recording because I have a message from the dog groomer and it covers everything, and so you're learning that I'm not very technical here. Okay, Robin's Egg, but this is just like the reality of unedited videos, and if I had to edit them, I wouldn't do videos because the editing process drives me crazy. I think life's too short to try and edit everything, and you either like me or you don't, and that's okay. Everybody has their preferences. So I'm gonna just put that Robin's Egg watercolor on my palette, and I'm gonna spritz it just to get a little bit more water in there. It's a really nice light color, so I may need a bit more of the Robin's Egg than whatever colors I'm using to mix. So we'll just see how we do. So with the Robin's Egg, I'm gonna mix in my white which is a really beautiful light aquamarine almost. It's kind of hard to see with the lighting today, but you can trust me on that. And then I'm going to go into Cream by Beam Paints. And put that one right here. And then we're gonna go into the lighter gray, the slate gray, which may have had a bit of cherry magenta in it, but that's all right. This is just more about the fun of learning your favorite colors and how to add tints, tones, shades, how to change it up. You know, maybe not buying as many colors if you can really zero in on a process like this, that you can create your own colors, you know, if you want, create your own neutrals. So this one is Graphite, which is a darker, kind of super dark, so I'll add in a little bit more of my robin's egg. And then I'm gonna go back to more robin's egg on the palette as I get into some of these darker colors. And I'm gonna go into the Timberwolf gray, that kind of beautiful grayish blue. I should just show you what that looks like without the robin's egg. Isn't that gorgeous? And then when we mix it in with the robin's egg, it lightens up to kind of a moody, stormy sky blue. Whoops. And I can do that one again just to show you. And then we're gonna go into Burnt Sienna, which is a warmer kind of reddish brown, and put it into our palette with the robin's egg. And then the last but not least is Cub Brown. And we'll just put that one over here. And I don't mind that it runs together. Sometimes I like to kind of do a fun, that one didn't turn out as well as it usually does, but I like to kind of take some of the watercolor that's just dripping and just sort of make a little circle as for the middle of the abstract flower. And I am getting color. My son would be very happy. I'm getting color splashed on my little, well, my large mind map of sorts on empathy and art. Okay, so just to review that, I usually don't review things, but that was a bit quick. So I was using a Canadian company, Beam Paints, non-toxic, non-plastic, woman-owned and Indigenous family run from Manitoulin Island. Cherry magenta in the middle for this flower, and then robin's egg for this one. And then I had used, in order to tint or lighten, I had used white and cream paint stones. Then to add a little bit more of a shade, I went with what was that one? That was not graphite. This one was slate, and then graphite. And then I used timberwolf, which is that beautiful color, timberwolf gray, and then burnt sienna, cub brown. Those were the ones that I had used, again, with my kind of center color in the middle. So purchasing, you know, if you wanted a more limited palette, it's still not super limited, but if you had purchased 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you could even get away with, you know, purchasing 3 or 4, you know, the white, maybe the graphite, and then possibly the cream or the slate gray, and then either the raw umber, the burnt sienna, sorry, the cub brown or the burnt sienna. Those would be good options for like whatever middle color you choose. And so this was just an exercise that I felt was a lot of fun, and it's relaxing, and you can learn a lot about color theory. I think though, because of my time, I'm just gonna set that aside and I'll go back to my book. And we could pull actually one of my art poetry cards. And I will talk a bit about art and empathy. And let's just see. So this is my 71 artist art poetry deck. This is a newer one, so it's a little bit sticky. The cards are 350 GSM, so super high quality. And I'm just gonna tuck in my shirt and take off my outdoor slippers. Well, they were indoor, now they're outdoor. And this is the painting and the card with the words, "Protect what you love." And yeah, I think of this as a painting, and the word nurture comes to my mind. When I had done this really loose watercolor and acrylic ink painting, you can see possibly the reticulated patterns that I love in my work. It might be really hard to see because this is, again, a reproduction, not as high quality, of course, compared to a fine art print, but this was a really large work. I'd sold it, and it was really quite big, actually. It was bigger than this watercolor sheet. I think it was like at least 20 by 24 inches. And I could see almost like an angel's wing, some kind of a wing, a bird's wing, just off to that edge. It just sort of appeared intuitively in the art. And I love to do the botanicals and think of it as like a bouquet or nature's elements I'm incorporating. And I had the way I had done the flowers and just sort of this curve made me think of like protection, protecting Mother Nature, protecting things that are important to us. Of course, for me, you know, that's my family, my friends. Ultimately, it's my creativity as well. So protecting, carving out time for what you love, who you love. That's what I think about with this particular card. And I think that's all I want to say. Just, you know, making sure whatever you're doing, it's for yourself first. And I think that's where empathy is born, is when you have self-compassion. And that's why I don't edit my videos. That's why I don't do commissions. I am very specific in my art process as a business because I know I could get burnt out really fast. I know that I would just want to give it all up if it wasn't something I was just doing for myself. So I do want to read my artist why. It took me a long time to come up with the words as to why I paint. And I feel like it would be good to just kind of go, I'm just gonna, put my credit card back where it's supposed to be so I don't lose it. And my art poetry card deck. So each card is a visual reminder that the present moment, including this moment, holds much beauty and guides us with new insights and inspiration. This deck of cards can be a source of comfort and healing during difficult times. Choose a card in the morning or at night or whenever a thoughtful moment invites. Art holds the power of connection and evoking change, and I'm grateful you chose my art poetry. I'm also grateful that you're all here today on video with me, sharing this moment, which will be a different moment for you, a new moment, but I feel like it's connecting us wherever you are in the world. I think it kind of ties in with what I want to talk about with empathy and this mind map I had done for my exhibition. So this, I am shipping this art poetry deck worldwide. It's $60 Canadian, and shipping is added at the checkout, just so you know. It is not shown on your payment method that it's in Canadian dollars it shows that it's in your own currency once you get to the final stage of checking out. But just to reassure you, my prices are in Canadian dollars, even though I couldn't reflect it that well on the website. And this is like a cohesive body of work that weaves empathy throughout. So I'm just gonna talk to you a little bit about empathy and why I paint. So my background, I use a lot of shorthand. That probably comes from my medical background because I worked as a registered nurse for years. In nursing, we have to practice reflection, and it's a really important part of the profession that after you've been working with patients all day, hopefully in a very caring, compassionate capacity, you practice reflection after those long shifts, those hard shifts. And I think I learned to compartmentalize my emotions at that time because nursing was such a challenging area to work in, especially certain areas. I had started in children's oncology, the cancer wards. I moved through to children and teenage mental health, medical surgical nursing, pediatric nursing. And then I ended up kind of going so many different directions just because the world of nursing, at least in Canada, it's really easy to switch specialties, and I needed that just for variety to kind of change it up for myself. When I was working in mental health, I started to kind of question my own mental health because it was just I was just learning a lot about myself as I was helping manage patients with their own mental illness. I do struggle with mental illness myself. I have sort of an underlying obsessive compulsive tendency. I have dermatillomania, which is very specific to my face and imperfections around my skin, and that's something I manage every day. I've managed that since I was like a young adolescent to as an adult now. Such a hard thing to go through. If you haven't heard of dermatillomania, it's very similar to trichotillomania, where people feel the compulsion to pull out their hair, their eyelashes, their hair on their head. Dermatillomania is sort of an obsessive, compulsive skin picking to the point where it's affecting your life. It's problematic, and I'm totally going off track, but I do struggle with mental health myself. How this ties in with empathy, I think, is there is the art of empathy, which starts with self-compassion, art therapy, knowing that I am doing these videos for me, I am painting for myself. I'm going to flip through this book because it's so beautiful, and then I can kind of chat about art and empathy and almost give you a place to focus if you find art visually beautiful. I know for me, I would be distracted watching videos, especially if someone was just talking. I don't do well with learning as far as listening, the auditory side. I really love to kind of be doing something, maybe those relaxing watercolors we were just doing. And also visually, I need to see things that are beautiful and inspiring. And that's where I think I remember better, I learn better. So I'm gonna go through Botanica and talk about the art of empathy, which I think is different than empathetic art. So the art of being empathetic it seems like it should be something so simple to really put yourself in someone's shoes and try to understand where they're coming from. And you think of it something so simple as a human to be able to just be understanding to what someone else is going through. When it comes down to it, it's actually one of the most complex things, empathy. It's extremely complex. And I think a lot of us have it sort of, we may have been born with it genetically, it's innate. I think you can learn empathy when you go through experiences, and maybe you have shared experiences with someone else who's going through some similar challenges. But I've kind of been thinking about the art of being empathetic. I would hope I would know that from my nursing career. And then when I started to do art for myself, that it was that act of self-compassion, being empathetic towards what I was going through at the time, I started to art journal and create, which, you know, I was in a really heavy place with emotions. My mental health wasn't great. I was going through a lot of appointments. I was going through family planning, so IVF, and I had gone through significant loss. I was also kind of grieving at the time, you know, that I may never be a mother. I was going through, I just had a lot going on in my life. So I found self-compassion through the practice of art and getting a relationship with creativity in which I could maintain to help myself. And it's just the best thing that ever happened to me. And I love that I can share that in hopes that it might help someone else. I think of art, I'm just trying to think of where I want to go. We all express and process differently, but I think of I think of art as sharing a shared connection. I think it as, you know, my art as sharing space with somebody that may be going through something. I think it would help to say my artist why, which is a visual reminder to stay present in the moment and appreciate the beauty that holds the power of connection and evoking change. And it's a mouthful, but it really draws, it's exactly how I feel as an artist, that the reason I paint is the same reason, or sorry, how I think of art and empathy or empathetic art is like the same reason I purchase art, because, you know, if I pay for something, it's something that has spoken to me, that, you know, if I see art, say at a market or a gallery, if the art stops me in my tracks and I'm standing there in that moment, I almost feel like I'm sharing the moment as potentially the person that had painted the art itself or had created it. It's like a moment in time that somehow we're sharing. Possibly we're connected because we're going through something similar, something in the art, whether it's the colors, maybe it's memories, like you're nostalgic about something, you know, maybe it's a landscape that's familiar to you. It could be, again, like the use of, in mixed media, I use a lot of like those, I use brown tone paper. I get nostalgic about things from my childhood, which have that, you know, the brown paper bags, the lunch bags, that, you know, there's subtleties in art that we admire. And if we can really zero in on what it is about the art, we can learn a lot about ourselves and share that connection with the person probably that created it. I think of art very much as sharing space. And so when I paint, you know, for example, this particular piece, so when I painted this piece, I was painting to find calm. So this has the words, find your calm. And I find quiet moments and peace and tranquility. I find joy through painting. I find, you know, I get nostalgic through certain mark making that makes me really happy. And when someone purchases my art, or if they say see it and it resonates with them somehow, I think of, we're sharing space. So just like, you know, this would then maybe go hang on someone's wall, it's sharing space with that person, and maybe they're trying to find their calm through my art. Maybe they just love the colors, or maybe they just like me as an artist and want to support me. That could be too. I'm sure there's people that want my art to share space because it matches their couch, and that's not my goal, but that's something that can happen, right? I was painting a lot of art during lockdown and holding on to hope. That was, you know, words that I would use, remember your breath. So painting to me is, I want to remind myself of these little things like remember to breathe when you're going through things. And I needed to paint this art to go on my wall when I was going through things. And now it's become a business, and of course I'm selling it, but the whole purpose was for myself initially. So I love that my art can share space. You know, maybe someone else is going through something and what I've written or what I've painted speaks to them in a certain way. And I think about that as empathy, is you are meeting the person where they're at. I think of empathy as sharing space. If they are rock bottom, you know, feeling like they're drowning in the ocean, you know, you don't have to say anything. You can just be there for them and let them know that you're present. And I think of that as the shared connection that we also get through art. I find this very hard to explain, but that's just some of my thought process on empathy. It's about feeling like we can really see each other and have that human connection about, you know, knowing that we're not alone when we're going through something. I'm gonna set those aside, and was there anything else? I think of my art poetry deck, I guess, as, you know, each card that I had painted, I would say probably 90% of the deck. I mean, I painted the art before I planned to make the deck. There was a few cards that I wanted just to include, and I painted after I'd made the decision to do this deck. But this deck to me is like a source of comfort. It's like I'm sharing space now in a handheld format of, you know, comfort that I needed when I had painted each of these paintings. So knowing that I can have this deck, you know, shipping it to other countries, including countries that are going through war right now. People have written stories about how my art has changed their lives, how it's impacted them. I have a laugh because someone just asked if I could design a tattoo. They were explaining to me exactly why my art would be perfect for this, for a tattoo. And anyway, that it just made me laugh because that came to my mind, so I had to share it. I feel totally honored. I don't design tattoos, but I gave her the go-ahead to use some of my designs and just let me know how it goes. But yeah, back to empathy. When I was going through, you know, as an artist, I'm always going through emotions. I'm going through day-to-day life, and painting is my escape. It's my primary source of joy, of dopamine. If I have woven emotions and things that I'm going through and have found comfort in pulling a painting together and releasing what I'm feeling, knowing that it's being maybe shared with somebody else who's going through something, they're flipping through the cards and they're finding their own story through what would have been maybe my story. You know, when I've taken like art courses and marketing, there's this push to, you know, have a story behind each of your piece. And I do have that. You know, for instance, this piece, the title is Magical Sky, and there is a story behind this painting, and I do remember exactly where I was and when I painted it and how I felt. And I felt like the words "believe in yourself" and "what you create" really match the title of Magical Sky. And you know, you're really pushed in marketing to share your story behind, you know, as the artist, why you painted something. And I think that's very important. But I think what's more important is when you're releasing that art. So if you do sell your work like I do, or share your work, you're releasing it out into the world for somebody else to potentially find their story through your art, which I think is the most incredible thing. I see that my video might be cutting off soon. I'm just gonna see if I need to plug in, and if you can still hear me, I'm gonna end the video here. But just to know that this art poetry deck is also in hopes that someone will be inspired by something I had done, and I can pass empathy through this handheld format and let people know I'm sharing joy and calm and that they're not alone. And I just want to say thank you for being here. I hope I didn't lose this video.